3 hours after I buried my daughter. Her professor called me with a shaking voice and said, "Come to my office right now." Don't tell anyone, not even your family. I drove to that school as fast as I could. But when I pushed open that door and saw who was standing inside, my blood went cold. My name is Gary Holloway. I'm 57 years old. I run a small machine shop on the west side of Cincinnati, Ohio. Nothing fancy. We fix engines, fabricate parts, keep old equipment running for businesses that can't afford new. I've been doing it for 22 years. It's honest work, and I'm proud of it. I'm not the kind of man who talks about his feelings much. Never have been. My wife Beverly was the one who could put words to things. She'd look at me across the dinner table and know exactly what I was thinking before I opened my mouth. She passed 5 years ago from ovarian cancer, 6 months from diagnosis to gone. After that, it was just me and Renee. Renee was 21, pre-med at the University of Cincinnati. Sharp as a tack, stubborn as her mother, and twice as organized. She had notebooks for everything: class notes, study plans, grocery lists. She even kept a personal journal, said writing things down helped her think clearly. I used to tease her about it. All those notebooks stacked on her desk like she was running a library. She had Beverly's laugh, that same way of tilting her head when she was about to make a point you couldn't argue with. 3 weeks before that phone call, I buried her. Kidney failure, the doctors told me. Sudden, unexplained. A healthy 21-year-old woman gone in 4 days. I sat in that hospital room and watched it happen, and there was nothing I could do. Nothing. I fixed broken machines my whole life. I couldn't fix this. The funeral was on a gray Tuesday morning in November. Cold, flat sky, the kind of day that just presses down on you. Some of Renee's classmates came, a few neighbors. My shop foreman, Clyde Merritt, stood next to me at the graveside the entire time and didn't say a single word. Just stayed there. That meant more to me than anything anyone else said that day. On my left stood Darlene Hale, Beverly's younger sister, 50 years old, sharp-eyed, always put together. She'd moved into our spare room 2 years earlier, just until she found a new place, she said. She never left. After Beverly died, I let her stay because I thought Renee needed a woman in the house, someone who could be there in ways I couldn't. Darlene cooked dinner 3 nights a week. She came to Renee's school events. She filled in a gap that I didn't know how to fill myself. I trusted her completely. She was the last living piece of Beverly I had left. The mourners cleared out around 2 in the afternoon. Darlene moved quietly around the kitchen, cleaning up, making coffee. Clyde sat with me at the table until I told him to go home. At 3:47 p.m., my cell phone rang. Professor Lorraine Duval, Renee's literature elective professor. I'd met her once at a parent information night Renee's freshman year. That morning at the funeral, she had stood at the graveside and couldn't even speak. She just placed a single white lily on the casket and walked away with her head down. Mr. Holloway, her voice was trembling so badly, I almost didn't recognize it. Professor Duval, I found something in Renee's belongings at the university. You need to come see it, right now. Short, panicked breathing between every few words. Come to my office. Langsam Hall, 3rd floor. Please don't tell anyone you're coming. What kind of something? I can't explain over the phone, a pause. Mr. Holloway, don't tell anyone, not even family, please. The call dropped. I stood there in the hallway staring at the phone. Through the kitchen doorway, I could see Darlene rinsing cups at the sink, her back to me. Going for a drive, I said. Clear my head a little. She turned around and gave me that soft, concerned look she'd been wearing for weeks. Want me to come with you? No. I won't be long. I drove to the university with the radio off. The campus was quiet on a Tuesday afternoon. Bare trees, dead leaves skipping across the parking lot in the wind. I walked fast with my hands in my jacket pockets, head down. Langsam Hall, 3rd floor. The hallway was empty and smelled like old books and floor wax. I found Professor Duval's office at the far end, door slightly open, a strip of light falling across the linoleum, and voices coming through the gap. Give it to me right now, low and flat, not frightened, in charge. Please, I don't want any trouble. That was Professor Duval. She sounded terrified. I moved closer and looked through the gap in the door. Professor Duval was backed against her own desk, both hands raised, face white as paper. And standing in front of her, holding a small green notebook in both hands, was Darlene, my sister-in-law, who was supposed to be home doing dishes. I pushed the door open. The hinges creaked loud in the quiet hallway. Darlene spun around. In less than a second, her face rearranged itself. The cold fury was gone. In its place, warm concern. Gary. Soft voice, gentle eyes, what are you doing here? I didn't answer right away. I looked past her at Professor Duval, who was still pressed against the desk, fingers gripping the edge. Her eyes found mine and stayed there. You said you were home, I said to Darlene. I came to collect Renee's things. She gestured toward the notebook in her hand, then at the professor. I didn't want her work just thrown out. Professor Duval was helping me gather everything. A small, apologetic smile. I should have told you. I'm sorry, Gary, everything she said was smooth, reasonable, exactly the kind of thing a caring aunt would say. But Professor Duval's eyes were telling me something completely different. Her fingers had gone white on the desk edge. Let's get you home, Darlene said, putting a hand on my arm, steering me toward the door. You shouldn't be out driving tonight. As she guided me past the desk, I felt something small slip into my jacket pocket. Quick light, I kept walking. At the door, I glanced back one last time. Professor Duval's lips shaped one word, silent. Run. Darlene walked me to my truck in the parking lot. She hugged me, told me to drive safe, and pulled out first. I sat there and watched her taillights disappear around the corner. Then I reached into my jacket pocket. A torn piece of paper, handwriting shaky and fast, notebook, her dorm desk, bottom drawer, run. I drove straight to Renee's dormitory. Her RA let me in without question. Word had spread about Renee, and nobody was going to stop a grieving father from walking the halls. Her room smelled like her. That vanilla shampoo she had used since she was 15. I stood in the doorway for a moment, just stood there. Then I went to the desk, bottom drawer, under a stack of anatomy flashcards and a folded UC campus map. A small green notebook, same color as the one Darlene had been gripping, but this one was different. A second copy, a backup Renee had kept hidden separately. I sat down on her bed and opened it. Week 2. Aunt Darlene started bringing me herbal tea every morning before class. She says it helps with stress. Med school is brutal right now, so I appreciate it. She's been more attentive lately than usual. I turned the page, week 4. Tired all the time, hands shaking during lab work. Dr. Okafor noticed and told me to get blood work done. I keep telling myself it's just the schedule. Everyone in my program is exhausted. I turned another page. My hands were not steady. Week 6. I ran the tea through the chemistry lab. I know how that sounds, but I'm studying toxicology. I know what heavy metal accumulation looks like in test results. The panel came back strange, abnormal levels. I don't know what to do with this. Darlene loves me. She's all I have left of Mom. I don't want to be right about this. Week 7. Found paperwork in Darlene's room when she was out at the store. Mom's life insurance policy. $18,000, my name as primary beneficiary, and below it, a handwritten note with a man's name I didn't recognize and a phone number, Ned. That's all it said. Just Ned. I sat on Renee's bed and stared at the wall for a minute. Then I read the last entry, dated 2 days before she was admitted to the hospital. If something happens to me, the lab report is saved in my university email. Draft folder, unsent message, no subject line. The notebook is here under the flashcards. Dad, if you're reading this, I'm sorry I didn't tell you sooner. I kept thinking there had to be another explanation. I didn't want to lose another piece of Mom. That last line hit me like a physical thing. I sat there on that small dorm bed with the notebook in my hands for a long time. The room was quiet. Her textbooks were still stacked on the desk. Her coffee mug was still on the windowsill. Her coat was still hanging on the back of the door, like she might walk in any minute and grab it. She had been scared, and she had carried it alone because she didn't want to hurt me. I closed the notebook and called Clyde. He picked up on the second ring. Come to Renee's dorm, I said. I need you here. Clyde Merritt had worked beside me at the shop for 15 years. Before that, he'd spent 12 years as a beat cop in Hamilton County, left after a knee injury. Never talked about the police work much, but the way he thought, the way he watched things, you could always tell. He knew people. He knew how evidence worked and how it didn't. He was there in 20 minutes. He read the notebook from the first page to the last without saying anything. His jaw tightened on the final entry, but his face stayed still. We need that lab report from her email, he said. I know her login. She gave it to me freshman year in case of emergency. Then we start there. He looked at me. Gary, what we do next has to be clean. You walk into a police station tonight with just this notebook. They're going to call it grief. They'll say you're a father who can't accept that his daughter died from an undiagnosed condition. He set the notebook down carefully on the desk. We need the lab report, we need her voice on record, and we need to do it right or none of it holds up. I nodded. That night, we sat in Clyde's truck outside a Denny's on Montgomery Road. I logged into Renee's university email on his laptop, draft folder, one unsent message. No subject line, attached file, PDF, UC Chemistry Department, dated 6 weeks before Renee died. I opened it, heavy metal panel, thallium compounds, flagged as abnormal. The lab note read, possible environmental exposure, recommend further testing and physician follow-up. Renee had typed one line in the body of the draft. For Dad, if I never send this, Clyde printed everything at a FedEx 2 blocks down. We laid it all out on the hood of the truck under the parking lot lights. The notebook, the lab report, the photo Renee had taken of the insurance paperwork. Clyde looked it over for a long time. "It's not enough," he said. "This gives us motive and it gives us means. But a defense attorney will tear it apart without something more. We need Darlene saying it herself. Then we get her talking," I said. "Yeah," Clyde said, "we do." 3 days later, I went home. I walked in through the front door like nothing had changed. Darlene was at the stove stirring something in a pot. She turned when she heard me, and her face did that thing it always did. Soft eyes, quiet concern. "I was worried about you," she said. "I just needed some time," I said. "I'm glad you're here, Darlene." She relaxed. Her shoulders came down a little. Right then I knew she believed I had no idea about any of it. She thought I was still the same grieving man who needed her around. I let her think that. That evening after she went to her room, I went to the kitchen. Clyde had ordered a small wireless voice recorder online, the kind that sits in a corner and picks up everything within 50 feet. Voice activated. He had checked Ohio law twice before buying it. In Ohio, you can record conversations in your own home without telling the other person. It is legal. I pressed the recorder into the gap behind the fruit bowl on the counter where the wood meets the wall. You could not see it unless you were looking for it. Then I went to bed. The next afternoon, Clyde called me at the shop at 2 p.m. "Come over," he said. "You need to hear this." I drove to his place on Work Road and sat down at his kitchen table. He hit play on his laptop. Darlene's voice came through the speaker, calm and low, like she was calling to check on a utility bill. "It's handled, Ned. He has no idea. He thinks I'm here grieving with him." Then a man's voice, flat, a little impatient. "That was Ned Pruitt, Darlene's boyfriend. I did not know his name yet, but I would learn it soon enough. What about the professor? She's got nothing solid, just a scared woman with a dead student's notebook. Nothing she can prove. The insurance timeline. A few months once, probate clears. Then we move. Gary will sign over the house before that. He can barely get out of bed right now." Silence on the recording. Then Darlene again, quieter this time. "Beverly got everything. The house, Gary, Renee's love. I watched that family from the outside for 20 years, Ned. 20 years. And now it's my turn." Clyde stopped the playback. I sat there at his kitchen table and did not say anything for about a minute. Outside, a garbage truck was making its rounds down the street. "Normal Tuesday sounds. That's enough to take to the police," Clyde said. "Not yet," I said. "I want to know everything first. Who is Ned? How deep this goes. And I want it airtight before we walk into any police station." Clyde nodded and picked up his phone. He called Pete Grady, a retired Hamilton County investigator who now ran a small private investigation firm out of an office on Vine Street. Clyde had worked alongside Pete years back and trusted him completely. Pete came back to us 48 hours later. Ned Pruitt, 54 years old. Licensed real estate agent working out of a small office on Reading Road. 3 liens on his property. $65,000 in back taxes owed to the IRS. His real estate license had 2 complaints filed against it in the past 3 years. The man was drowning financially and had been for a while. Then Pete found something else. 10 years earlier in Dayton, Ohio, an elderly great-uncle of Darlene's had died unexpectedly at home. Darlene had been listed as a secondary beneficiary on his small estate. The death was ruled natural causes. No investigation was ever opened. Same pattern. Same patience. Same silence afterward. Clyde brought all of it to Floyd Tanner, a detective with Cincinnati PD he had known since his own years on the force. Floyd sat at his desk and read through everything without rushing. The notebook, the lab report, the recording, the insurance documents, the Dayton case file. He looked up when he was done. "I want to be in the room when this happens," Floyd said. We started planning. I called Beverly's attorney, a careful older man named Harmon, who ran a small estate practice on 5th Street downtown. I told him I needed to come in to review Beverly's estate documents and sort out Renee's accounts. I asked if he could accommodate a family member as well. He said, of course. Then I called Darlene. "I need to go see Beverly's attorney," I told her. "Review the estate documents and figure out what happens to Renee's accounts now. I'd like you there, your family. You should know where everything stands." She agreed right away. No hesitation, not even a pause. Of course she agreed. The office of Harmon and Wells sat on the 4th floor of a building on 5th Street in downtown Cincinnati. The conference room had a long oak table, tall windows looking out over the street, and a smell of old paper and carpet cleaner. Sandra Kowalski, the Hamilton County prosecutor, sat at one end of the table. She had been introduced to Darlene as an estate consultant brought in to handle probate matters. Floyd Tanner was in the room next door with the door pulled almost shut. Darlene sat across from me. She had dressed carefully. She brought a notepad. She looked like a woman who had prepared for a productive meeting. I sat across from her and kept my hands flat on the table and my face neutral. Attorney Harmon laid out Beverly's original will and Renee's student account documents in 2 neat stacks between us. He walked through them in his slow, methodical way. Darlene listened and nodded and wrote a few notes on her pad. Then I said, "There's one thing I want to go over specifically." I reached into the folder in front of me and set the green notebook on the table between us. Darlene's eyes dropped to it just for a second. Not even a full second, but I had been watching for it and I saw it. Renee kept very careful notes, I said. She was a medical student. Documenting things was second nature to her. Darlene said nothing. Her face had gone very still. I opened the notebook to the final entry and slid it across the oak table toward her. She read it. I watched the color leave her face, not fast. Slow and steady, like water draining out of a sink. I also have the lab report from the UC chemistry department, I said. Renee ran the tea herself, 6 weeks before she died. The results came back flagged for thallium compounds. I paused, and I have a recording from my kitchen. Ohio law allows recording in your own home without notifying the other party. I set my phone on the table and hit play. It's handled, Ned. He has no idea. He thinks I'm here grieving with him. Then the part that mattered most, Beverly got everything. The house, Gary, Renee's love. I watched that family from the outside for 20 years. Now it's my turn. The conference room was completely quiet when it ended. No traffic noise. No hum from the heating system. Just silence. Darlene's hands pressed flat on the oak table. Her composure came apart the way old structures do. Not loud, not dramatic. Just a quiet, complete failure, like something that had been holding too long finally let go. Gary. Her voice came out thin. "Don't," I said. The conference room door opened. Floyd Tanner walked in with 2 uniformed officers behind him. Darlene looked at me across the table. Her eyes moved over my face like she was searching for something. A way out, a sign I might still be persuaded. I had known that look on her face for 2 years, and I had read it as love for our family. I understood now what it actually was. As they placed the handcuffs on her wrists, she said, almost to herself, "I just wanted what should have been mine." "Nothing here was ever yours," I said. They walked her out through the lobby and into the elevator. I sat at that table for a few minutes after the room emptied. Attorney Harmon brought me a glass of water and set it down without a word. Sandra Kowalski gathered her files quietly. Floyd came back in and told me they had picked up Ned Pruitt at his office on Reading Road at the same time. He said Ned started talking within an hour. The Dayton case was reopened the following week. The trial came 6 weeks later in courtroom 4 of the Hamilton County Courthouse. Dark wood paneling, fluorescent lights, the smell of old carpet, and paper coffee cups. Judge Morris Dunbar presided. Gray-haired, precise, the kind of judge who reads every word before he says anything. The gallery was full. Reporters, former colleagues. Some of Renee's classmates from the medical program who had driven over to be there. Prosecutor Sandra Kowalski stood up and laid the case out piece by piece. The thallium compounds found in Renee's lab test. The notebook entries tracking symptoms week by week. The financial motive of $180,000 in life insurance with Darlene as secondary beneficiary. The recorded conversation. The prior death in Dayton matching the same pattern. Renee's lab partner took the stand and testified in a steady voice that Renee had told her something felt wrong at home, but she did not want to believe it. She said Renee told her, "I don't want to be right about this." The defense argued that I had manufactured evidence out of grief, that a father who had lost his wife and daughter was not a reliable witness, that the recording was taken out of context. Judge Dunbar was not persuaded. The jury was out for 5 hours. When they came back, the 4 persons stood and read the verdict slowly. On all counts, including first-degree murder, criminal conspiracy, and financial fraud, we find the defendants guilty. Someone behind me in the gallery let out a long breath. A few of Renee's classmates were crying quietly. I sat still and kept my hands in my lap. Ned Pruitt received 22 years without possibility of parole. Judge Dunbar looked at Darlene for a long moment before he spoke. He said that what made this crime particularly grave was not only the deliberate nature of it, but the position of trust that had been exploited. He said a young woman had believed she was loved and had been poisoned by that belief. Darlene Hale received a life sentence. She did not look at me when the sentence was read. She stared straight ahead at the wall behind the judge's bench. The officers came and led her out through the side door. Her footsteps echoed in the quiet courtroom, and then they were gone. 8 months later, I stood outside the University of Cincinnati School of Medicine on a cold morning in late fall. Clyde was beside me with his hands in his jacket pockets. We were looking at a small bronze plaque mounted on the wall next to the scholarship office door. The Renee Holloway Memorial Scholarship for students of medicine who lead with courage and precision. We set it up using my own savings. full tuition for one student each year. The requirement was simple: financial need and a demonstrated commitment to the field. The first recipient was a 20-year-old from Dayton. She worked 2 jobs and was the first person in her family to attend a 4-year university. Her application essay was about why she wanted to study toxicology. I shook her hand and told her to make it count. That evening, I drove out to Spring Grove Cemetery. Beverly's grave and Renee's grave sit side by side under an old oak tree that has probably been there 100 years. I left roses for Beverly and lilies for Renee and knelt down in the cold grass for a while. I did not say much out loud. I'm not that kind of man. But I stayed until I felt ready to leave. If you have been carrying something like this, a loss that does not make sense, a betrayal from someone you trusted without question, I want you to know that the evidence matters. The patience matters. You do not have to be loud or powerful. You just have to refuse to let it go. Justice does not always come fast, but it comes when you do the work. Renee did the work even when she was scared. That is what I carry with me now. Share this story if it reached you. Someone out there needs to hear it today.